In the heart of Australia's dry outback, there's a bird that doesn't just fear fire, it uses it. The locals call it the Firehawk, a cunning predator that waits for flames to rise, then carries them to new ground. What you're about to hear sounds like mythology, but science confirms it's real. Researchers have documented these birds picking up burning sticks, actual embers, in their talons or beaks. They fly them to fresh patches of grass, drop them, and watch the fire spread. Then, as frightened insects and rodents flee the flames, the firehawks feast. This isn't random behavior. Indigenous Australians have known of these firebirds for centuries, woven into ancient stories long before modern science noticed. Today, ecologists are confirming what tribes already knew. These birds weaponize fire as a hunting tool. The idea sounds almost supernatural, a bird that understands the power of destruction. But experiments show pattern and intent. Firehawks gather along controlled burns, waiting, watching, and sometimes sparking new ones miles away. This behavior, fire manipulation, places the firehawk among a tiny handful of animals known to use fire deliberately. Not by accident, not by instinct alone, but by what appears to be strategy. And that word changes everything. For decades, scientists thought tales of fire-spreading birds were just legends. But then came the evidence. Firefighters reporting flocks carrying burning twigs, new fires igniting kilometers away, far beyond natural spread. The coincidence was impossible. Field biologists began tracking them. Black kites, whistling kites, and brown falcons, all showing the same behavior. These weren't isolated incidents. They were coordinated opportunists, drawn to the chaos fire brings. When food hides underground or beneath dry brush, fire becomes the perfect tool. By extending flames into unburned patches, firehawks flush out prey that would otherwise remain hidden. This is fire as a biological weapon. One study from 2017 documented over 20 eyewitness accounts of these birds spreading flames intentionally. In Aboriginal fire management, this behavior is even considered during controlled burns, because ignoring it could make a small fire catastrophic. But the question that haunts scientists isn't how they do it, it's why they know to do it. Fire is unpredictable, dangerous even for humans, yet these birds show no panic, only precision. The firehawk doesn't just survive the flames, it thrives in them. Its feathers are dense but heat-resistant. It flies just high enough to avoid thermal bursts, but low enough to hunt effectively. It's evolution tuned for chaos. Even the name Firehawk echoes in ancient myths. Aboriginal stories describe them as messengers of fire spirits, creatures that brought both destruction and renewal to the land. Fire, in their culture, wasn't evil. It was transformation. Firehawks, unlike most predators, don't just react to nature, they create it. By altering their environment, they increase hunting success, influencing which species live or die in vast ecosystems. It's power on an ecological scale. Think about that. A bird that changes the map of a forest, not by building or migrating, but by burning. This is behavior that borders on tool use, a sign once thought exclusive to primates. Researchers tested this by setting small fires under observation. Within minutes, firehawks appeared, circling and diving toward the smoke columns, as if fire was a beacon calling them to the hunt. These birds can spot smoke from over 20 kilometers away, using vision fine-tuned to detect flickering light patterns invisible to humans. To them, fire isn't just visible, it's alive. Firehawks also appear to understand wind direction. They drop embers where dry grass meets airflow, maximizing spread. It's calculated chaos, an instinct that behaves like intelligence. Some scientists even call them avian arsonists, not out of malice, but admiration. Because when nature produces a creature that can control one of its most destructive forces, It's evolution at its most daring. Fire doesn't just feed the hawk, it shapes its social life. These birds often hunt in groups, moving together across burned patches, signaling each other with shrill calls. Cooperation born from destruction. But for all their brilliance, the firehawk's gift is also a curse. As climates dry and fires spread uncontrollably, their ancient instinct turns deadly for entire ecosystems. Their genius becomes destruction unbound. Still, even as fire consumes, it renews. Grasses regrow, insects multiply, and the same hawks return to hunt again. To them, fire is not an end. It's part of the circle. The firehawk symbolizes nature's duality, destruction and creation bound together. What humans fear, they master. What we flee, they control. When you realize this bird literally changes landscapes, it feels less like a hunter and more like a force of nature, evolution's living wildfire. And yet, there's something deeply eerie about it, as if intelligence is emerging from places we never expected. If birds can wield fire, what other secrets of consciousness are hiding in the animal kingdom? In every flame a hawk drops, there's a message. Intelligence doesn't belong only to humans. It burns quietly in the wild, waiting to be seen. Some conservationists now track firehawks not just to understand them, but to learn from them. Their instincts could teach us how fire spreads naturally, how ecosystems recover, how life thrives after chaos. Because maybe, just maybe, nature's greatest inventors aren't in labs. They're out there, wings cutting through smoke, rewriting the rules of survival. We often call humans the masters of fire. But in the open plains of Australia, that title doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the firehawk. In every inferno, they dance, spreading both fear and life, destruction and hope. The firehawk is more than a bird. It's fire given wings. And as the world warms and flames grow stronger, maybe one day it won't be humans teaching animals about fire, but the firehawks reminding us what it means to truly control it.